So I was perusing off-season content the other day, as I regularly do, and I saw Andy Staples over at On3 put out a playoff projection. And it had 12 teams in it. And the 12th seed this year with the straight seeding format, which I think is a better outcome for the sport overall, it was not Boise State. It was not Tulane. It was not Fresno State. It was James Madison. James Madison was his pick to represent the group of five in the college football playoff this year. Now recall, what we still have, even though they're straight seeding, is the five highest ranked conference champions, which we all know is going to be champion of the Big Ten, champion of the SEC, champion of the ACC, champion of the Big 12, plus a group of five. Technically speaking, the American and Sun Belt champs could go on, or Mountain West could go on to be higher ranked than the ACC and Big 12 champions. That's technically possible, but I don't think we're going to get there, nor do I think we ever should get there, quite frankly. So I got to thinking about James Madison because this is a brand. There are a couple of really interesting names that are affiliated with this program, one past, one present. The first one is Curt Cignetti. This is where Curt Cignetti came from prior to his emergence into the national spotlight last year with the Indiana Hoosiers, leading them to the college football playoff. He had James Madison winning for 2 years in the Sun Belt. Before that, they were an FCS program. They made the jump. It was a seamless transition, and he did very well there. From 2019 to 2023, across the FCS and G5 ranks, he went 52-9, 31-4 in conference play. That line he has about Google me, all I do is win. Yeah, he's not making that up. All he really does is win. But he's not the head coach there at James Madison anymore. And I imagine most of you are not super familiar with the Dukes as they are known. They've got a nice purple color into their scheme. They've got some cool looking uniforms, to be sure. You probably don't think or know that much about James Madison. That's okay. What I can tell you is that when they were still the FCS ranks, their investment into sports was very real, which is why they made the jump up to the Sun Belt. That requires a strong community investment. I know it's hard to think about people growing up being James Madison fans their whole lives or wanting to give big money to the James Madison Athletic Department, but let me tell you, it's there. The money's there. This is a program that can absolutely be a G5 playoff contender year in, year out. They weren't a season ago, doesn't mean they won't be going forward. I'm just saying the investment, the commitment has been there for the last several years. I don't get the sense that it's going anywhere. So, looking at their team for 2025, where Staples says, hey, I think they're going to wind up as, like, Boise State be the trendy pick. Why? They're returning a lot of their production from last year. They did lose Simpson, their linebacker, to North Carolina, but still, Boise State's going to be good, even without Ashton Genty. As good? Probably not. Still really good? Yes, absolutely. But James Madison last year went 9-4. They were 4-4 in Sun Belt play. I am okay with group of five conferences because they, play Power 4 opponents oftentimes twice. I'm more okay with them playing 9 conference games because it's not resulting in them playing an extra FCS. That's just really what I want to get away with when I talk about, the SEC playing 9 conference games. Stop playing Mercer in the second to last week of the regular season. So, last year, James Madison went 8-4. Then they beat Western Kentucky out of Conference USA in the Boca Raton Bowl. That's their first bowl victory ever as a program. They have only been at the FBS ranks for 3 seasons. Curt Cignetti won 8 games. Curt Cignetti won 12 games. He got the Indiana job. And then Bob Chesney took over. And Chesney is also a name most of you probably don't know, but could be a Curt Cignetti type if he continues along this trajectory, because whilst at Holy Cross, an FCS program back east, he won 5 straight conference championships. The dude just wins. So if he puts James Madison into the playoff, he is going to fly up boards when coaching vacancies come around. He is going to be popping all over the internet whenever a Power 4 job comes open. Florida. I don't know that he'd be in the running for Florida, but I tell you what, if you ask Florida right now, who'd you rather have, Billy Napier or Curt Cignetti? I mean, you'd rather have Curt Cignetti. It's not really even particularly close. But that's the first name that you got to know with the Dukes and their Group of 5 playoff chances to compete with the likes of Boise State, Tulane, Army, Navy. They can get in the fold. Air Force has made some runs. There are plenty of schools, UTSA, that I can see emerging from the Group of 5 ranks. Don't forget about Memphis, too. They're 53rd in returning production from a 9-win team. Not bad. They have gone out and attacked the portal with guys that they like. They're not making as many waves because, they're James Madison. They're in the Sun Belt. 31 transfers. That's some Colorado work. That's some Ole Miss stuff, right? 31 transfers, 8 from Power 4 schools. Their class in the portal ranks 69th nationally. This is not a high school recruiting powerhouse. Nobody at the Group of 5 ranks really is. But they got guys, they got bodies. They're not lacking for scholarship players at the very least. Now, here's the interesting part. I've told you all of this. I can assure you, I have not said the most interesting part about James Madison University's football program. There are 5 quarterbacks listed on the roster. Several have playing time. J.C. Evans was the MVP of their Boca Raton Bowl win with a couple of touchdowns against Western Kentucky. I'm going to give you 5 seconds, listening to or watching the show, to try and guess which quarterback who was absolutely in the national spotlight for a brief period of time is on this JMU roster. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Matthew Sluka is still playing college football. Over at James Madison, do you remember the Matthew Sluka story? He went from UNLV's quarterback leading them to the playoff to, he wanted more NIL money, held out, and UNLV kicked him to the curb, said, nope, don't want to deal with that. Barry Odom said, nope, we're going Hajj Malik Williams. That was the right decision. UNLV was 1 game away from the college football playoff last year when they played Boise State in the Mountain West title game. If they'd won, they would have been in. That Matthew Sluka on the roster at James Madison. If he winds up being the starter and leads JMU as Staples predicted to the playoff, what a modern college football story that would be. Now, the next question, whenever you are pondering a Group of 5 team's ability to get to the playoff, and this is not the last Group of 5 team that I will evaluate throughout the summer, because there are other teams, of course, is what's their schedule like? Are they going to be able to put themselves in position to have quality wins, or as Boise State had last year when they went to Oregon, who was number 1 for a healthy chunk of the season and lost by only 3 points? That was a quality loss that kept Boise ranked ahead of Clemson and got them a bye. Of course, that can't happen anymore, thank goodness. But the schedule for James Madison this year goes like this. Weber State, that's an FCS game they'll win. At Louisville, we'll come back to that. At Liberty, Georgia Southern, Georgia State. You go through the Sun Belt schedule. Louisiana, Old Dominion. At Texas State, at Marshall, tough games. App State, also a tough game. Washington State, at Coastal Carolina. 3 games on there. I'm circling that if James Madison doesn't win at least 2, then they will not wind up being the highest ranked Group of 5 conference champion. That I just can't see it because I don't know where the resume builders would be. Obviously, you have to go win the Sun Belt, which is a quality Group of 5 football league. I think it's solidly number 3 right now, behind the Mountain West and the American. But the Louisville game week 2, you talk about under-the-radar non-conference football games. If JMU wins that, put them on the map immediately for the playoff. If they lose that game, they're not out of it, but you can stop thinking about them for a while because they have to go run their slate. And then between Appalachian State and Washington State, you've probably got to win both those games. And then you need to win at Texas State, and the Bobcats have to be good. So that game week 2 at Louisville, JMU will have had a tune-up. We'll see who they end up going with at quarterback. They've got plenty of options. And boy, if it's Matthew Sluka against Miller Moss, boy, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. Miller Moss, friend of the show, appeared a while back. But look out. Look out for those Dukes. They win that game at Louisville, who's a dark horse ACC title contender. Yeah, JMU could make Andy Staples' prediction come true. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. And until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.